Welcome to From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Here you'll go from making ends meet behind a keyboard to living in true freedom by using real estate well, never having to work a full-time job, report to a manager, or give your adult life to a corporation that probably doesn't care about you. We will give you everything you need for your journey: techniques, principles, real-world experience, and application, filtered through 5 key power principles from my book, People Power, Other People's Money, How to Win, Enjoy, and Reserve. Get ready to take notes. Let's jump into From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Welcome to From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. I'm Ivan, and I have a great guest here today again, Matt Picheny. He has done over 10,000 apartments nationwide. But let me go ahead and draw out his full career, because this guy has done a lot. He is a real estate investor, coach, Tony Award winner, and author of the #1 best-selling book, Backstage Guide to Real Estate. He is focused on developing passive income streams that enable investors to write their own story and choose how they want to spend their time. Matt has over 15 years of experience revitalizing and elevating communities through real estate investment. He is a licensed real estate agent and has earned both commercial real estate and real estate finance certificates from Boston University. Matt has been a member of the Forbes Real Estate Council, the Fast Company Executive Board, and is an advisor to a prop tech company. He is also PMA certified as a project management professional, so there's a tech side. Matt is also a digital marketing veteran whose 18-year career in advertising included work for some of the world's largest advertising agencies, producing award-winning projects for Fortune 500 clients, including Verizon, IBM, and Coca-Cola. Matt and his wife have 2 Tony Awards as co-producers of the Broadway shows Moulin Rouge and American Utopia. They have invested in many other theatrical productions, including Hamilton and Wicked. He is a native of Orlando, Florida, and a former actor. Matt also still believes in happily ever after, living with his wife and 2 daughters in Brooklyn, New York, and in his downtime enjoys long walks on the beach, great music, and amazing barbecue. Wow, you're a busy guy, so thanks for making time for us.
Thanks, Ivan. Yeah, I read my whole bio. That's awesome.
Yeah, because it's all good stuff. Man, that
Thank
is
you.
amazing. Would you like to add to that intro a little bit?
I don't know how much I can add. I think that basically covered it all. I mean, I focus in multifamily real estate. That's where I spend the vast majority of my time, and I love talking with people about real estate and helping people, whether they're interested in investing passively in deals or if they're interested in actually getting active and doing deals themselves.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you, barbecue from where?
Well, I enjoy barbecue from everywhere,
Okay.
but I've owned quite a bit of properties in Kansas City, and I think Kansas City's got some of the best. I don't want to say the best, because I've had some great barbecue in Texas as well, but some of my favorite spots are in Kansas City.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. And
There's
then,
also a really good one here in Brooklyn too. So,
oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
which one? So in case somebody's visiting, they could check it out. What's the name of the restaurant?
The one in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
it's called Hometown, and it's in Red Hook, Brooklyn.
Okay.
It's actually really, really, really fantastic
Okay.
barbecue. Yeah.
Awesome. So thanks for that personal suggestion.
Sure.
So the outline of the time we have together is the people power section, other people's money or resources, winning, enjoying, and reserve. These
Awesome.
are the main key power principles. So, a lot of people started with other people having mentors, coaches, etc., maybe even parents that encourage them to get into real estate investing. What is your people power? What comes to mind when you think of that word, those 2 words together?
Well, when I think of those 2 words together, I think of syndications, which is what I get involved in, right? You mentioned earlier 10,000 units. That's not units that I acquired on my own, right? I have partial ownership in those units, and about 2/3 of that are deals that I have invested in passively as a limited partner, as an investor. Then I have over 4,500 units that I am invested, that I'm not only invested in, but I'm also a general partner on those deals. So for me, it's really always been, when it comes to the multifamily world of real estate, it's always been about a collaboration with people, and us all working together collaboratively and leveraging each other's, experiences and balance sheets to invest in these great opportunities that I don't think any of us could do on our own, right? I don't know about your personal situation, Ivan, or anybody listening to this personal situation, but a lot of people don't have, $5 million of cash that they can just deploy that's sitting
Let
in
me
the
just
bank.
pull out my wallet here.
But maybe you have 50,000, and maybe if you can get a bunch of people together who've got somewhere between 50,000 and 250, right, and you can all pool those resources together, then maybe you can go ahead and acquire that asset. And that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And what has been your determining point of whether you're a general partner or a limited partner?
Oh, well, I would love to, be a general partner in every single deal. But the fact is, I don't know every single market, and I don't have relationships with every single broker and property manager, right? So there are people who specialize in specific markets and specific areas and have those relationships where they have got really good knowledge of that market. They maybe know where the path of progress is. And they have access to those deals. I have access to some deals in certain markets. I know certain markets very well, and those are the types of offerings that I bring forth as a general partner. But I'm happy to and enjoy letting other people do most of the work, and me sitting back and being a limited partner, and sort of leveraging their expertise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You just brought up a kind of inadvertent self-reflection of people power, being able to observe your own ego and taking it a step back and saying, hey, I don't know that market. Let them take the lead on it, and I'll just collect the check, the passive check. Sure. Like that takes a level of maturity, emotional maturity too. Like, all right, like, did you have to do some work to get to that point?
I don't know. Well, did I have to do some work to get to that point? I had to get to a point where I could trust it. It never had anything to do with the ego of like, oh, I can do that better or anything like that. But when it comes to, investing with other people and giving them my money, there has to be a certain level of trust there, right?
Yeah.
So that always goes, a lot of these deals, that I invest in passively are people that I've invested with in the past and have done well. There's a lot of people I've invested with in the past that maybe the deal hasn't gone great or the communication hasn't been great. And so I'll choose not to work with them again. So I tend to sort of dip my foot in the water with somebody first, see how it goes, check out their references and things like that, and then go from there.
Yeah. The reason I bring that up too, bless you.
Sorry.
A reason I bring that up too is that somebody could easily hinder themselves in terms of business or investment if they constantly have this thought of, I'm going to lead everything. There's nobody else that can help me. I'm the only executive on the team, and there are people that unfortunately think that that's reality, and don't grow as a business because they stay there.
Oh, I thought I was going to sneeze again there. Sorry. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And so, yeah, knowing when you're not, the person to lead a project is really important. I think I've heard it said, not a specific quote from any particular person, but I think a number of people have said that they try to surround themselves with people who are smarter than them. You don't want to be the smartest guy in the room, because then you're not learning anything, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you need to find a bigger room, to go into and find a place where you can learn from other people as well. So I've always felt that way. Maybe maybe in my teen years, I didn't feel that way. But, I think as an adult, I've always tried to, at least tried to be humble and realize that there's always things you can learn. I learn stuff. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. I learn stuff from them all the time, So life is about, I think, learning and growing.
Yeah. You know what that makes me think of is there comes a turning point where we have to hire people, right? To address the weaknesses that we have. Like when it comes, some people might be more visionaries, more high level. Other people might be more chief operating officer, more detail oriented, hiring people, team, etc. The turning point comes to where do I have to make budget for this? Somebody that maybe has been working in for themselves for 5 years and investing and want to be lean and mean always could also hinder themselves from doing something greater, right? Where did you come to grips with, I gotta hire somebody, and how did you do it?
I came to grips that I needed to hire somebody when I not too long ago, actually.
Okay.
And when my wife was like, "You're working too many hours," and I was like, "You're right, I am working too many hours." And then I was at a mastermind event and started talking to some people who had employees. It was a couple of years ago now. And I got to a point where I've needed to hire people, but I tend to like to keep my hands in a lot of the stuff as much as I can. So but yeah, there's a time when you do need to delegate to others.
Yeah. For me,
if I had unlimited time, if I didn't have a family and didn't want to have any social life, I actually love doing what I like. One of the things I have a full-time editor to edit all my video, and I put out a ton of video content for social media, YouTube channel, all that stuff. I actually enjoy editing video. Like, I've done it before. I'm not as good as my editor, but I know enough to be able to kind of, piece something together, and
yeah.
I enjoy it, but it takes so much time that I can't focus on the real estate stuff that I need to be focused on. So, I have someone who does that. I have someone who helps me, more of like an executive assistant with a lot of the sort of administrative tasks that we have going on, to sort of help lighten my load so I can focus my energy maybe on, maybe the best and highest use of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one book I read, I forgot the name, but it advised having at least double what that person you're hiring brings in revenue in order to make sense of their payment. That's kind of hard to measure sometimes, especially when it comes to like marketing. Like, there's no immediate measurable return.
Well, yeah, no, there isn't. I mean, like my video guy, I don't know how I can necessarily quantify, oh, the videos got me X amount of business, but they do. They bring in, that brings eyeballs on me, and it allows people to see the work. It allows my current clients to see the projects when we do property tours that we're working on. Allows us to promo new property things, and share a bunch of, like, I have tons of my YouTube channels, like all free educational videos, but ultimately it's marketing, right? Ultimately, the hope is someone goes there and is learning and says, well, gee, Matt really knows what he's doing. So either A, they want to, invest in a deal of mine, or B, hey, I want to do what Matt's doing, and he coaches people. So why don't I join his program and learn how to do, straight from that guy. So I think eventually it pays off, but it's really hard to tie it back to that specific thing. Yeah.
As we get bigger, I think it's better to measure marketing initiatives and hire initiatives in like 6 to 12 month blocks. And when you're small, like lean and mean, probably like 1 to 2 months at a time, because you got to really protect your costs.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you have any advice on that side too, the marketing side? How do you try to measure that too?
I don't do it that way. Although I worked in digital marketing here in New York City for 18 years.
Oh yeah.
but you know, I'm looking to build this out over time, right? And so I'm taking a very, very long view approach. And so when I look at, you know, a YouTube video, let's say, that's not something that's going to, you know, maybe give a return to me in a month or two, right?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, possibly it is, but where it's really going to pay off, I think, is a year from now when somebody goes, or you know, to my channel. Actually, if you go now, I've been posting very consistently now for quite some time. If someone, but when I first started off, you know, there was nothing, but now you go there and you're like, oh wow, like this guy's got like a library of, I think I have like 80 different videos on there now, and I'm adding more every week, right? So I think people go there and they're like, wow. Same thing with the on my website. You know, I started a blog, which I've now made videos for all of those and embedded those in the actual blogs. But like that started off with just one, and I was doing those once a month. So it took a couple of years before I've had, you know, now I have like about 30 articles, I think, on there. And all of those things, I think, all sort of help and lead toward, you know, a new student or a new investor. But I also don't know that it all comes from just one source. You know, I think you mentioned in the bio, you know, I have a best-selling book called Backstage Guide to Real Estate, which is an awesome resource for investors. And people come from that, you know, but someone might read the book and then see the YouTube channel and then sign up for my newsletter and then get my newsletters and then decide, oh, I want to invest. So I don't know that I can even attribute it all to sort of one campaign or one initiative. Yeah. It's sort of the holistic thing. When you know, talking about my experience in advertising, you know, we looked at trying to do, so I worked, you know, specifically in digital, and in digital, back in the olden days, everything was last click attribution, meaning someone sees a banner ad somewhere, or someone gets a link in an email. They click on the link and they make a purchase, and that link, that or that banner ad would get, you know, the full value. So, oh, this banner ad did really well because it got us, you know, $1 million in revenue, let's say, as an example. But what we ended up doing was realizing that that last touch attribution model wasn't necessarily fair to the fact that maybe this person had seen 15 other banner ads.
Oh, yeah.
and maybe had clicked on it 4 or 5 times and learned a lot about the product. You know, there are products that I've seen that I then look at, that I then go to the website and do a little research on, but I'm not ready to make the purchase, you know.
Yeah. It's like
right now, there's some new cool camera, and I think my camera's pretty good, right? We're doing this on video. This camera's pretty good, but there's this new camera. I forget what it's called. I bookmarked it, though, the other day. Like, I saw an ad for it. I went to the website. I read up on it, and I was like, oh, interesting. And I purposely bookmarked the website because I think I might want to maybe buy it at some point. I don't know. But like, that first ad that I saw is definitely contributing to me actually making this purchase in the future, if I purchase it.
Yeah, it's like they say McDonald's tries to get you 9 times throughout the day, because statistically that you'll buy their burger if you see them 9 times, their logo 9 times. So it's definitely key to remember that, especially in this growing and more saturated YouTube channel, social media sector. You're not going to always get the immediate results, right? Like, so you just got to keep on pushing. It almost reminds me of how they somebody advised like looking at social media like an artist, like make the content for yourself and make it passionate about yourself, like you're making art essentially, because that's the only way you're going to actually reach somebody, speak to them in your own way, as opposed to, oh man, I got to do this and I'm going to get 2 views and I'm debilitated. I'm going to go cry myself to sleep. I hope it's the right thing. Like, that's not the right way to do content.
I agree.
Yeah. I guess you could speak to that too, because in many regards, you're an artist yourself. Like, what's your process for creating, you know, being a part of productions? so that it comes off powerful, even if it is to one person?
You know, I enjoy the arts. I'm a big fan of the arts, and a patron of the arts. I used to be an actor a long time ago. Haven't done that in a very, very long time, but I just love the arts and performing arts. I love visual art as well. I mean, I got this painting back here. This is by an artist here in New York City. But you can also see I have a guitar over there, right?
Oh yeah.
I love music, huge fan of music, and whenever I can support those, I do. So, you know, in terms of like the Tony Awards that I have, my wife and I have co-produced a couple of Broadway shows. My wife's full-time job is in the theater. She's on the business end of Broadway, and she knows and understands all of those things and eats, you know, and lives and breathes and sleeps that. And so we are able to collectively make a contribution on those shows with our expertise that we have, and also, you know, are making a capital contribution as well on those, and help propel things that we feel passionate about, that we think are important, that have a good message, and make an impact in the world. So, you know, the shows that we've been involved in, like Hamilton and David Burden's American Utopia, you know, are great shows that also had a social message behind them that we felt very strongly about. You know, we've been involved in a show called Parade, and there's a new show coming out called Suffs that my wife is a co-producer on, and that's about the women's suffrage movement, right? Women getting the right to vote. Where Parade really dealt with anti-Semitism, right? So, you know, whenever we can get involved in shows that are sort of aligned with us philosophically, and things that we really want to just kind of put some weight behind because we feel that the message is strong, we'd like to do that when we can.
Yeah, we sort of just touched on other people's resources. Having art around us is a great resource. Even just if you don't even want to buy something, go to an art show and observe something. You don't know what'll bring you to tears, you know, or somebody sang a poem at the art show. It's inspiring for the work we do. But I want to be respectful of your time. I just realized we're pretty much at 25 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Do you want to I want to be respectful. Do you want to continue or do a sequel to this?
We can continue. I can go a little over if I need to.
Okay. When is your hard stop? Just
I have an 11:30. I'd love to get
okay.
off before that, but I definitely have a hard stop at 11:30.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you. I know your time is valuable. So, all right, other people's money or resources. What is your process for, I guess, raising capital? That would be a top of mind thing for most beginner and intermediates.
Yeah, you know, I'm actually putting together a whole live training around that. So if anyone's interested, they should sign up for my newsletter. But for raising capital, there are, just like I talked about before, the attribution model, right? How do you attribute it to one source? I don't know. So I really take I don't know if it's like a, you know, scatter approach, right? But I try to put myself out there and put out a consistent message and just be providing value for people. Like, for instance, this free training that I'm going to put out there, right? I have a bunch of free trainings that I've put out and continue to do on a consistent basis, free downloads, like I said, those videos on YouTube and things like that, where I'm just trying to educate people and give them something of value. So that's probably the best thing. Like, the way to attract, I think, capital and interest is by providing value to people.
Yeah, for sure. And I can relate to that too. And I would say the average Facebook video count for me is about 30 to 40. On the high end, 80 views, but that alone has led hundreds of thousands of dollars of capital investment.
Wow.
Just by me doing consistent videos.
Yeah.
So if you're a beginner intermediate, you could be like looking at that sort of number and be like, I'm never going to get anywhere. But that's just literally a couple of people. So a couple of people could make a drastic difference in your real estate investing career. And help you scale up and help them also build wealth at the same time.
Yeah, 100%.
So coming into the next section, winning is natural. You're helping other people win and scale your business, also your win. I also like to think about winning in a not traditional sense of learning from failure. What sort of things could you share of what winning means to you? I know you're enjoying that content, but I just wanted to personally invite you to the Commonwealth Affordable Housing Fund. If you want to passively earn while also building communities, doing philanthropy even, while getting quarterly distributions and even sharing in the exit about 5 years down the line, then please join us. This used to just be for friends and family, but you could join in now. You could be essentially earning through an expert, which is I, running the investment firm Commonwealth. So if you want to be a part of it, and also get access to exclusive events where we go to in-progress construction and I show you how your money is being used actively and how the renovation was just complete and how this is going to help change people's lives, how we negotiated an acquisition. So you could be a part of those events throughout the year and also earn passively. So if you want to be a part of that, please click the link below and I'll let you back to your awesome content. Thanks.
Well, I always approach everything through a win-win lens, and you'll see that on my website, and you'll hear me talk about it in my posts and my videos and all that kind of stuff. Because it's something that's very important to me, is making sure that all of my deals are a win-win. Meaning, we're buying multifamily apartment communities. I want to make sure that the residents of that community are actually better off by having us as owners. I want to make sure that the staff who works at the property are better off from having us as the ownership group. And then as the owners, we are better off because our investment is profitable, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the most important thing to me is that investments, when we're looking at the criteria, if this is something we're going to get involved in or not, is whether it's going to be a win-win or not.
Yes, indeed. I totally relate to that. Essentially, it could be a 4 total wins. I don't know how to count. That's it. Raised 5 fingers. It could be residents, you as owners, staff, and then I also like to add God at the end of that. Because
I say the planet, because we've done things that have been environmentally friendly.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you could say God. I mean, you could go to the overall right world, or universe, or the whole everything.
Yeah, and we're luckily at such a phase in humanity now where we don't have to, unfortunately, like in times past, make money off of putting people down. We could actually help people and also make money at the same time. It doesn't have to be either or.
I agree.
So I'm curious. Tell me about a tribulation that you worked through that had you win out of reflection on it. Not necessarily you didn't feel the victory in the middle of it, but going through it.
I'm not sure that anything's coming to mind right now, Ivan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was easy to make these amazing Broadway shows.
Look, I don't think anything in life is easy, right? But you're talking about, was there a particular tribulation where I had some big epiphany at the end, and I can't really think of anything right now off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, every deal that I've been involved in has had its challenges, right? Nothing I think worthwhile comes easy. And so, yeah, there have been ups and downs and challenges that we faced along the way. My whole book, Backstage Guide to Real Estate, is like packed with all the different twists and turns that I've taken in my life. The things I've had to face. I mean, even the way I got involved in real estate started off with my business imploding, right? I was working in digital marketing and basically building websites, right, in the late 90s. And 2001 came along, the dot-com bubble burst.
Oh, yeah.
And my business completely imploded. And at that time, I got a call from my landlord telling me I had to get out of the apartment that I lived in.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I ended up buying a place and to live instead of renting in New York, and then selling the place 2.5 years later, and like more than quadrupling my initial investment, my down payment, and saying, wow, how do I do real estate again? I mean, that's how the whole thing started. And there's always been twists and turns along my path, along my journey. But I think it's really just about figuring out how to navigate through those that are important. But I mean, I guess the big epiphany from that first one was, wow, I need to get involved in more real estate. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I'm curious, like one of the first big deals, or even small multifamily deals that you did. What are
Sure.
some difficult turns that happened?
Oh, well, I mean, when I did the first large multifamily that I bought, I had the largest thing I had was a duplex. And then the next thing that I bought was a 132 unit, $10 million property. And I mean, that whole thing, I wrote a whole chapter in the book about it because there were so many twists and turns. But, we even just trying to get the property and putting in offers, and then the seller actually pulled it from the market, and then I ended up being able to, kept being persistent and following up with the, persistent in a good way,
Yeah.
with the broker, and ended up getting the property. It was essentially an off-market deal because they never put it back on, but I kept following up and being
Nice.
persistent. Ended up getting that deal, but there was a ton of twists and turns along the way, including COVID coming along. But we ended up doing really well, selling that deal, having great return for our investors. And it all worked out really well.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's something people don't. I don't think I've even mentioned in this podcast yet. The value of persistence. Like, it's so easy to say, "Oh man, there's like 10 buyers on this thing, and 5 of them have $1 trillion to play around with. They're gonna take it away from me. I shouldn't even bother." But you'd be surprised to hear how much this happens. They pull it, that $1 trillion buyer, all 5 of them pull out, and like 6 months later, just because you didn't make a follow-up call, you missed out on an amazing deal.
I have 3 stories in my book about persistence. And so the book takes people along my journey and shares the 18 different keystone concepts I learned along the way. And keystone concept number 2 is all about persistence. And I have stories in the book about, besides the story about me getting that deal, which is much later in the book, but the stories about things earlier in my life, like when I got a job to work at Disney World, when I got a job to work at the Hard Rock Cafe, my first acting gig, and all of those were not because of my sheer talent, although I think that I am talented, but all of those were because of persistence. And that has propelled me to be where I am in life, right? Just, not only in real estate, but in every career that I've had.
Yes, indeed. Solid stuff. Definitely check out his book, y'all. How do you enjoy what you've built?
Oh, I don't really know how to answer that one. I try to, be grateful for
Okay.
what I have, but I also have goals and other things that I'm trying to achieve. But checking in on those goals also allows me to reflect back at, like, oh wow, look at what I have achieved, right? It's important to be looking ahead, but also recognizing the past. And I try to spend time with my family and go on vacations. And for instance, we're recording this today on Halloween. I will be taking a big portion of the afternoon off because I'm going to be meeting up with my kids and going trick-or-treating, right? So being able to have sort of some freedom around my time and not necessarily punch a 9 to 5 type of clock. Now I work hard. I'm not just sitting on the beach drinking Mai Tais.
Yeah.
But I have sat on beaches drinking Mai Tais, and it's fun to do every now and then.
Well, you mean you're not gonna zoom into the trick-or-treating process?
I think I'm going to do that one in person.
Okay. Man, you're a good father.
I try.
Reserve. So when it comes to this last section,
Yeah.
there's lots of different concepts of reserve. There's financial, emotional, spiritual. It could go on and on forever. What's the most important reserve for you at this moment today?
I haven't really, it's a good question, Ivan. I've never thought about that before, in terms of one being more important than the other. I I'm not sure that one is, it's kind of like a stool, and if you're
Yeah.
missing one of those legs, you're gonna have a problem. I think you do need to have the financial, and then the emotional and spiritual, right? All of those are, I think, important. My family and friends are important to me. My own sort of spiritual fulfillment and well-being is important to me. And money makes the world go round, so to have some cash is important as well. But I don't know that one is more important than the others.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
one
I
of,
get, ultimately your health, might be the most important thing, because if you don't have your health, then you can't really be with your family because you
yeah,
could be sick or dying,
yeah,
and money doesn't matter. But they all are intertwined with one
yeah.
another, right? Yeah.
In my one of my masterminds, there's three concepts. There's health, wealth, and love, the main three categories. So
There
if
you
we
go.
are in imbalance, like you say, something's gonna suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, wow, we covered those sections pretty well. Um, any last tidbits you want to share with people before we wrap up?
Not really. I mean, I think we covered a lot today,
Yeah.
and the one thing I would just drive home is the persistence thing. Being persistent, not giving up. If you have something that you want to do, set a goal, write it down, and be persistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That brings up another question for people that are not used to persistence. They also have to come to grips with rejection, because
Oh yeah.
persistence leads to a lot of rejection. That's part of life.
So
How do you?
Julie Andrews is known for saying, and this is written in the book, but Julie Andrews is attributed with saying that persistence is failing 19 times and succeeding on the 20th. Right. And I think that's true. You're nobody always gets everything the first time. And if they do, you don't need to be persistent. I got my job at the Hard Rock Cafe, as I talk about in the book, by going back week after week after week after week after week after week. This was back in the old days in the 90s when it was on 57th Street, not in Times Square, and it was really popular, and there was line around the corner for it all the time. And I really wanted to work there. And I failed each time. I failed and failed and failed and failed until the time I didn't.
Mm-hmm. It brings me to mind, like, the 1% concept, all this wealth. And I do believe they should be taxed equivalent to a teacher. However, they do deserve to be in the top 1%, because they have been kicked in the face untold amounts of time to get there. And the average person just does not have the capacity to be kicked in the face that many times.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard thing to do, and it was something that, I learned probably at a younger age. And then, maybe, I didn't never realize this until now recording this podcast live, but I'm a short dude. I'm not tall at all, right? I'm like 5'4".
Oh, same
So,
here.
oh, okay. So you know what it's like to
Yeah.
be the little kid in the class. And so maybe
Yeah.
that had a little something to do with it. Just being able to be like, all right, well, I'm not going to be, I shouldn't say this because there are amazing basketball players who are short, but it's not me. Maybe I'm not going to be on the basketball team, but that's okay, and as an actor, I had to face a lot of rejection, going out for audition after audition after audition, but I would succeed from time to time, and actually had a pretty good run as an actor. But the only reason why I think I worked as much as I did as an actor was because the amount of auditions that I would go on a ridiculous amount of auditions, and I would end up getting shows. So anyway, I think persistence is just key to life.
For sure. And accepting the fact that you're not, if you want to get in this world and scale up an investment business, you have to be okay with not being an average person. Like you got to be okay with stepping above what the standard American dream is. Like you got to go above and beyond.
Yeah, it's definitely, I would agree. I mean, to be a successful investor is really like uh, almost an entrepreneur. And I don't want to say it's exactly an entrepreneur, because I happen to have some investors in my deals who have successful businesses that they run, whether, it's manufacturing or in the medical profession, and they actually enjoy what they do, but they also want a means to an end, and they're investing. But it is almost sort of like that entrepreneurial spirit, right? Where, you have to be willing to take some risk and face rejection.
Yeah.
And if you do that enough times, and you have, a good head on your shoulders, you learn from the mistakes that you make, right?
Mhm.
I've made a lot of mistakes and I've had a lot of failures. But I also have had some good successes as well. And I've learned from all of those things. Every time I've made a mistake or failure, at least I hope that I've learned those lessons. Sometimes I've had to learn them again because I forget them, but you learn those lessons and you build from there.
Indeed. Awesome. Well, that's a great conclusion. How could people get involved with you, brother?
Oh, yeah. Go to my website, picheny.com. I'm sure you'll put a link in the show notes, but just in case, it's PICHENY.com. There's a ton of resources there. The best thing is to sign up for the newsletter. It's called the Backstage Briefing, because then you'll get an update from me once a month with great investing tips and lots of free resources. So check out picheny.com.
Awesome. And what's the latest thing you're working on? Are you still having an active syndication, writing an upcoming book you're going to release soon?
Yeah, I am. I have my coaching program, which I'm very, very involved in growing that business. And I also have a really cool new construction project in Canada that I'm working on in the moment. It's a 506c offering, so only accredited investors can get involved in that. But it's a very exciting project.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. Mr. Picheny, thank you so much for your time today. Have an amazing blessed day, and thank you for watching From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Thank you for joining us on another episode of From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. I hope you got a lot of return on investment for your time today, and I encourage you to share it with other people so that they could also get returns with this valuable education to invest in real estate. We're also sharing this free education because we want to help people learn how to invest so that they could also create more affordable housing units. We have a great goal of creating 2.5 million affordable housing units by 2047, and free education like this is a big part of that. So by you sharing, you are a part of the equation to create those affordable housing units. So I can't wait to see the end of the road that we're going to achieve together. Have an amazing and blessed day.